Hello, this is FEPS Talks, the podcast series of the Foundation for European Progressive Studies. My name is László Andor. I'm the Secretary General of FEPS, and today FEPS participates in the Global Progressive Mobilisation in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. And I have today the great privilege to welcome Josep Borrell, distinguished socialist politician, former foreign minister, a former high representative, vice president of the Commission, a former president of the European Parliament, and also former president of the FEPS Scientific Council. May I start with a quote, learning the language of power. Do you think Europe has really made progress towards learning and speaking the language of power?
Well, first, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to meet you again, my dear friend, my dear László. Yes, I remember years ago I was in the FEPS and now I'm back to the think tank. I am chairing a think tank here in Barcelona. And I remember very well the work you are doing. So congratulations for that and thank you for this interview. Look, yes, I said that Europe has to learn to use the language of power. Why? Because we believe, we Europeans, that just with developing trade and preaching human rights, it would be enough. And it is not enough. It was not enough 5 years ago when I passed the examination of the European Parliament. Already at that time, it was not enough. The soft power to influence the world through the fact that you are a technological leader or you are a big trade power or you have a certain role of supporting international institutions, it was certainly not enough. And today it's much less. The problem is that to speak the language of power, you have to have power. Otherwise people immediately say, okay, what you are talking about.
Yes.
I'm not thinking not only on the brute and crude military power of having 7 fleets turning around the world, as the US has. But at a certain moment, you have to be ready to use force. And I remember when I proposed the members of the Defense Council to create a rapid deployment force of 5,000 people to intervene in the name of Europe when there is a crisis that requires a military capacity. They told me, oh, force, no. No. We cannot say force because we don't use force. There's a mentality, we don't use force. We rejected the idea of force. The whole European Union has been built on refusing, not accepting that force can be a tool. And they changed the name. They say this is a rapid deployment capacity. Well, which kind of capacity?
Yes.
But it has not been developed later because the European Union today they had too much division, in particular with respect to defense. And the language of power we haven't been able to use. We created this anti-coercion mechanism, thinking on China.
Yes.
It was created thinking on China. And suddenly China is not the problem. Suddenly the problem is the US. So we should have used anti-coercion mechanism, but we haven't. And we haven't because most of the European Union people are afraid of one thing, that the US let us alone in front of Russia. And this, they don't want to.
I see. Already a few topics like anti-coercion, like also the rapid reaction force, when it was very difficult to bring the member states to a common platform. But that's the very tedious job of the High Representative, to forge some kind of common understanding, if possible, common position. Why do you think this is so difficult in the European Union?
Because we don't share the same understanding of the world. We had 27 members, each one with a veto right, because unanimity means that there is a veto right, everybody can veto. And we don't share the same understanding of the world. I think this is the right words to use. Foreign policy means, above all, to understand how the world works. Who is my friend? who is my rival, who is my enemy, in which I can have trust, in which I cannot. And the European Union members come from different histories.
Mm-hmm.
Look, one of my Polish friends told me one day that Poland became a free country thanks to the Pope and the United States, which is true. Because Reagan, the Pope, Bush, the Soviet Empire, and Poland became free. But then I thought, look, that's true, but I am Spanish, and I think that I've been under military dictatorship thanks to the Pope and the US. Yes, because the Catholic Church was a big supporter, great supporter of Franco, and Franco survived because they exchanged their survival through American bases. So the Americans, Eisenhower himself, come to Madrid, kissing Franco, who was a bloody dictator at that time, and continued doing like this, showing that at the end it was not principles who were at stake. It was the military capacity of the US. And if you believe that you owe your freedom to someone, the same one that you believe that you own your lack of freedom, you cannot have the same understanding of the world.
But let's pretend to be naive a little bit, because on issues like international law, things should be clear cut, no? Because of course cultural legacies, historic legacies can differ, but international law has existed as a common platform.
It already exists. Theoretically, it already exists. But to tell the truth, what is about the Geneva Convention? What still exists of the Geneva Convention? The rules of law of war. When you see what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Iran, what's happening in Gaza, well, not to say about Sudan, but let's talk about our immediate vicinity. Is someone believing that international humanitarian law is still something that controls or at least binds the behavior of people at war? No. Do you really believe that the Europeans claim that the international law has to be respected? In the world, many people believe that we have a selective approach to this principle. In Ukraine, Russia is attacking Ukraine and is an aggressor and is violating international law. In the Middle East, we don't dare to say that what's happening in Gaza is a clear violation of international law, or what's going on West Bank. Today, people being expelled, the trees being cut, the houses being burned, the columns pushing the Palestinians to leave, killing some of them. Why don't we say clearly that Israel also is violating international law, or the US is violating international law? So many countries in Europe have a selective approach. Israel has the right to defend itself. Certainly, everybody has the right to defend itself. But it has to be done according and respecting international law. Of course, we agree on this principle. The question is Israel respecting international law? It has to, but it does. The real question, it does, has never been put on the table. Ethical declaration that is not being followed by action.
Let me put this to you, because of what you just explained. Is it not the case that now Europe is trying to build up hard power, but because of these inconsistencies, and if you want double standards, Europe is burning soft power much faster than building up the hard power? Risks the irrelevance in the international affairs.
I think it's a very interesting approach. We are losing soft power quicker, building the hard power. Because when you do a kind of selective application of law, you claim the law has to be respected, but you more than the others, people know it, and then the criticism comes saying, well, don't tell me stories. You are biased. You don't respect international law. It depends with whom you are talking. And this has been for us, Europeans, a clear lack of respect and credibility in the world. And at the same time, it's true that we are not building, let's say, a hard power or military power the way it should be done. Mm-hmm. The way it should be done. Poland is spending 5% on defense. Germany is the fourth country in the world by the amount of military expenditure. US, Russia, China, and Germany, the fourth one. They are saying that they want to build a stronger army in Europe. Mm-hmm. And maybe they can do it because they have financial resources. But this is not the way, because Germany having the stronger army in Europe, it already happened. Mm-hmm. And we know what happened.
Yes.
It has to be a common defense. And I think that the moment has arrived that some member states, not all, because not everybody would like to do it, to create a new treaty called Treaty for the Union of Defense of Europe. Mm-hmm. And stop this quarrel, administrative and political quarrel. What does the Commissioner for Defense? What does the High Representative for Defense? Mm-hmm. This overlapping of functions, mm-hmm. which at the end is a fight for power, fight for political power inside the European institutions, because the European Union was not conceived to be a military union.
Yes.
If we want to be a military union, not on paper, but on capacity of action, then it has to be going directly to the people, asking them, do you want to be a military union? Mm-hmm. And then to put the basis and to create a new institutional setting.
So then comes the silver lining, that in the recent period, the Spanish government stood out as a defender of international law and multilateralism. The question is why this has been happening. Is it because Trump is so horrendous? Is it because Sanchez is so nice? There must be some explanation of why Spain had this capacity, room for maneuver, in order to be a champion, a leading light.
It's not just a matter of individual personality. Certainly, Sanchez is a nice person, and he has been engaged for years on defending international law, in particular in Israel. But it responds to a structural situation of the foreign policy in Europe. The Europeans has to overcome two traumas. The first trauma is the dependency with respect to the US, because the US saved us twice in the history.
Yes.
The second trauma is let Israel do whatever they want, because we kill so many Jews.
Yes.
The Holocaust. The Holocaust and the fact that the US came to save Europe, winning the Second World War, changes the perception and the attitudes. And Spain has not these two traumas, because the Americans didn't save us. As I explained before, it's not that they save us, they make us to stay in a dictatorship for their geopolitical interest. So this trauma of gratitude vis-a-vis the United States, maybe a German or a Polish, not a Spanish. And the second one, we haven't killed anyone. The Holocaust, it was not our business. By the contrary, we saved a lot of Jews. So this fact that we don't have these two traumas allows Spain to have a much more proactive policies.
I think it's also something that needs to be highlighted, that Spain has a different thinking, not only multilateralism, but also multipolarity. Pedro Sanchez has been very active in deepening relations with China. He just returned from China. How do you see, is this just about benefiting Spain, but also benefiting Europe?
Well, Pedro Sanchez has gone to China many times less than the German chancellor. So it looks like today we discover that the European leader goes to China. My God, the German chancellors, how many times Merkel traveled to China and nobody was worried.
Yes.
Or how many times Macron has gone to China. No? I think that Pedro Sanchez is doing well in opening a relationship with China based on the fact, and like it or not, China is today at the forefront of technological development. If we talk about economic superpower, China is the biggest economic superpower. Mm-hmm. US is the financial superpower, the military superpower.
And cinema.
And
cinema.
And cinema superpower. But you talk about industrial production, China is to 1/3 of the industrial production of the world. And you talk about the new technologies of the digital transformation of the climate change policies, China is in the forefront. China is exporting electricity coming by natural sources. And the US is exporting hydrocarbons. It's exporting the dirty product that creates a problem for the humankind. So I don't think you can avoid having China present in your foreign policy. No one can.
Many hundreds, if not thousands, of progressive socialist Democrats come to Barcelona also to learn. What do you think they can learn from the Spanish leadership on foreign policy issues and global affairs?
Well, the Spanish, we don't want to appear as a teacher who explains the others how to do. But it's true that today in our continent, there is a wave of authoritarian regimes, of illiberal regimes. Thanks God the last elections in Hungary show another way. And Pedro Sanchez has been president of the government for 7 years. For 7 years. When people say that in Spain there is instability, I say, my God, instability is in France. 5 prime ministers in 5 years. Here we have one for 7 years. And the fact that he's stopping this populist wave, this far-right wave, gives to the Spanish socialists a certain authority because they are performing well. Let's hope that on the next elections things will be the same. But until now, you see Vox growing up, the far-right party. The Popular Party not growing because Vox is eating the electorate. The socialism in Spain has to continue winning, otherwise who will rest in Spain, in Europe? Who are today in Europe socialist governments? How many of them?
Well, exactly. Look, thank you so much for your time. I think we can indeed learn a lot from a collective analysis of this very turbulent world. I think the young generation has an opportunity to learn from your generation, socialists who went through many decades of governing your country, governing the European Union. And also they need to be innovative because they know how to run the progressive politics in the future. But I hope FEPS Talks will help. And
you
also,
will help.
I count on our continued cooperation because you remain active in CIDO, which is a very important center for the analysis and discussion on foreign affairs. And we believe we can continue this, but Barcelona is an excellent start.
It's a good occasion for us to meet again.
Yes.
Thank you and good luck on your work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.